Hello YouTube fams, how are ya? Welcome to my channel. I'm here, Darlene, doing a reading for you today. Ooh, this one's a little heavy, y'all, I won't lie. But before we get into it, thank you. I want to get my business out of the way. So first let me thank each and every one of you that watches my videos, and especially if you hit that like button or subscribe, that means a lot. I'm just getting my channel started here on YouTube. So all of that helps, but most importantly, because it tells the YouTube algorithm, hey, this is an interesting comment, let's show it to some more people. And that way it's more likely to get to the families and loved ones that it's meant for. Okay, so that is, thank you. That is that for business. And if you don't know, let me tell you a couple little quick things. These cards don't always mean the traditional meanings like you would say, for example, get in a love reading, because of the kind of reading this is. It's a different context. So it just, the pretty pictures are for you. I already had the person coming through and her story, excuse me. So I'm just going to pull some cards. Sometimes these cards are, they help me to tell the story of the person that I'm bringing through. Sometimes it's for the viewer, so I don't often know that till I get into it. So I'm just going to keep throwing cards as I'm talking and see what comes out. I'm just kind of do this on the fly. So, and by the way, I think somebody asked me the other day, I do not edit these videos, y'all. They are straight, you know, start to finish. No editing. I don't think I'd have the time or the patience to do that anyway. So that's that. No, they're saying no, that doesn't go there. Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm a little distracted today. Forgive me, y'all. The bottom here. Okay. All right, let me stop right there for a minute and tell you what I've got here. I have a young woman that's coming through. Oh, I'm not certain of her age. I think she could be in her late teens, early 20s, something like that. But I feel like this was, and I'm choosing my words carefully here, a death that was accidentally on purpose. I think it was ruled a suicide, but it, she's telling me, and I believe it was, the cause of death was a drug overdose of some kind. She was a very troubled young woman. She's showing me that, well, and before I get into that, let me finish about her death. There were some questions in your mind, the viewer, and I believe you, the viewer, excuse me, my English is not proper today. You were her mother, is who I believe this is targeted for. Now, you may find this message and you might not be the mother, you might be a cousin, or you might be somebody related to her in some other way, or just a friend. And you may recognize the story, so please share this if you do with the people, if you recognize the story. But you, the mom, I'm going to speak to you, the viewer, as if you are the mom. You had questions about her death. You still didn't really either want to believe or believe for some reasons that you had personal to you. You questioned her circumstances around her death. And at the same time, you knew she had been troubled. She had been depressed. She had really struggled with that a good part of her life, particularly as I think when she got older. Pardon me one second, y'all. So that part was no secret to you. And in fact, they're showing me that this young woman was cutting her wrist, or had cut her wrist at one point. And that see, that's the confusion in my mind, was did she cut her wrist and that ended her life, but she did that while she was under the influence of drugs. That could have also been. But there's some question in your mind, well, maybe other people's as well, as to the circumstances of her passing. And she is saying she was using drugs. She's admitting to that. But what is interesting about her coming through to me today as a reader, as a medium, is how I am seeing her. So I want to share that with you who may be interested. So typically when I do a reading, I ask, as many of you know that have watched me or watched my hands before, I have a gatekeeper, and I do my little prep, and I bless my cards, and I do all that, and do protection and blah blah blah, my little ritual, and then I ask my gatekeeper to bring through the spirit that whoever they want me to read today, and then I start getting images in my head, and then I hear things. And sometimes I feel things. So I'm all of those audience, you know, clairsentience, clairaudient, clairvoyant, all those things that start bringing through this young woman. But it's unusual because today she is, and I'm trying to think of a good analogy that can give you a picture for this, kind of like static on a radio or TV. Yeah, for those of you, well, this won't mean anything to you young people, but when you used to have to use rabbit ears to get your station, and you were trying to get it through, and you do the rabbit ears, and the picture would go bzz, 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 and it kind of like that, and it wouldn't come through, and it would just be, sometimes half the picture would have lines across it and that kind of thing. That's as close a visual as I can give you of what I'm seeing here. Her spirit is not coming through clearly and strongly as they often do. I take this as this means this is someone who has very recently crossed over, because it takes spirits a little while to sort of get their, land legs, get their footing, if you will, in the spirit world. There is a transition period from this world to the non-physical. And it takes them a little while. And so it's most of the time the spirits that come through to me have not been gone particularly recently. Sometimes they do, but it's not common. So that is one explanation of why she's coming through like this. There is a second possibility, but I don't believe this is the case. But I'm going to mention it just in case you or someone who finds this video and this might fit. If a soul, for example, is in a coma or had some sort of traumatic event, could be a car wreck, could be a drug overdose in this case, where their body is physically still here, but their spirit, in other words, they have a foot in both worlds. They have a foot in the physical, and that their body is still here, but most of them, their spirit is either trying to move on or has moved on, or somebody here is not letting them go. So that is a second possibility here. And if that story does apply to any viewers out there, please know that this young woman is ready to go. She was an unhappy soul in this lifetime, and the reason she's telling me was because she had abuse in her childhood, and I believe it was from her grandfather or a grandfather figure in her life. And she just, you know, you never really get over that. I'm speaking from experience. You just get on with it. You know, you just get on with your life. You just, for us lucky ones, okay, and I'm a lucky one. I got on with my life, and I didn't, you know, it's still, it leaves imprints on you, but you just get on. So without going into more of my story, anyway, I'm relating to this. That's why it's a little bit of a tough reading for me. But I believe she was abused, particularly sexually and maybe otherwise, by this grandfather figure. And the energy I get from this man is cold. Cold as ice, like a psychopath kind of cold. He had no emotions, just dead eyes and no emotions, this man. He had no empathy, no sympathy, no feelings, no emotions. It was just, that's just a hard thing to say about anybody for me. I'm a very compassionate person. But that's the energy that this man and what they're showing me about this person. Her soul never really recovered. But when you're a child, there's not as much you can do about that. And as you get older, you start having more freedom to make choices. And in her case, like I said, I think she had just sort of never really recovered. She was a sensitive soul, so it was particularly harder on her in many ways than it might have been. But what she's coming through to tell you, the message she's coming through to tell you today is, my zipper keeps catching on this table, I'm sorry, making a racket. The message she wants to convey to you today is not to blame yourself, because I believe, again, I'm speaking to the mother, or the person that was her mother figure here. It feels like her mom. You didn't know about the specific abuse. You were innocent where that was concerned, but you knew something was wrong. You knew there had been a source of this. You didn't know it intellectually, but something in you told you that there was some sort of history, something that you didn't know, something that had damaged this child and created this horrible wound that she couldn't get over. So you had this knowing, this feeling, pardon me. And I think you blamed yourself. You always felt, question, what could I have done differently? Could I have gotten her to a different doctor? Could I have gotten her help here and there? And you tried, but she really didn't want help. She just wanted to leave this world eventually, and I don't, again, think this was her first try. She is saying to you, it would have happened. I wanted to leave. It was going to happen. There's nothing you could have done differently. That you did everything you could to help me. And she's saying, I know that you didn't know. I know that you loved me. Don't question that for a minute. It had nothing to do with how much you loved me or how well you treated me. It wasn't you. She wants to be sure that you get that message. And one of the things she's saying that added to her mental misery, her angst, her hurt in this world, was she struggled with whether or not to tell you about what happened. And again, I'm not going to get into my personal story, but I can relate to this as well. And I had the same struggle. And I left home when I was 16 and never looked back. And my mother never understood that. She really always wondered what happened. And she knew there was some weird something that went on, because my dad and I did not talk much and didn't want to, and blah, blah, blah. And so over the years, she would once in a while say to me something about that, try to allude to, is there something that happened? And I never told her. Because I didn't want to hurt her, because I loved her, and I didn't want her bearing that pain. And I knew that she would feel some sense of guilt, that she could have prevented it, she could have fixed it, she could have, and I didn't want to burden her with that. I loved her, and I wasn't going to do that to her. And I remember after my dad died, this is a real personal story, so oh well, it's out now. After my dad died, we were actually cleaning up his room and getting some of his things out of the house. And she said that one more, it was just like I was adult enough at this point. I already had kids of my own and whatever. And she made that comment, like that one last little try. And I just reeled and turned on her. And I looked her in the eye and I said, Mom, don't ever ask me this again unless you really want to know the truth. And she never asked me again, because I think that in and of itself was kind of an answer. I didn't have to tell her details. I didn't have to. She knew. But I often even regretted saying that, because that confirmed something for her. She didn't know, and I'm glad I never told her. So I'm just empathizing with this young woman's plight, if you will. She felt she was doing the best thing for you because she loved you. She didn't, and there's a lot of shame that goes with anything like that when you're a child. It's common that you feel somehow that it was your fault. That's a very common. Therapists will tell you that. It's very, very common. You think you did something to bring that on you. And you didn't, obviously. There's no way she did, but still, you can't help what's in the psyche. And I think that was, all of this was sort of that perfect storm of a very deep emotional wounding and sort of soup, if you will, of what caused her to be so traumatized and have this constant depression and, and battle throughout her young life. Okay, I know that's heavy, and I've got hiccups. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me see if there's... Yeah, these cards are just kind of backing up. Yeah, she just... the devil can be a lot of things. It can be addictions. It can be being held back, restrictions, obsession. And it's all of those things in this reading. It's all of those things. She just wanted to be set free. The devil in reverse can mean also being freed from restrictions. She just wanted to. She didn't know any other way. She knew her dreams were never going to come true because she could not get rid of the pain. Now, we all know therapy's good, but in her mind, in her perception, when she left this world and when she was struggling, she saw no way out to get rid of the pain other than leaving. Let me see what else is here. She didn't feel that she could ever be productive and fertile in this world, if you will. Or contribute, I guess is another way. She just felt damaged and broken and really couldn't get past that. She couldn't let go of the memories of the past. Now, I will say, thankfully for me, this is a thing for those of you who don't know. If you had particularly traumatic things, sometimes your mind will block it out. It's a self-preservation technique. That was not the case with her. She remembered all of it, painfully so. She even tried to reframe what happened as maybe that was some way that he showed love or I don't know. There's something here that I'm not getting clearly about that. It's not coming through clearly, but so I don't want to go there. But it didn't work. It wasn't effective. But pardon me. She's just reiterating again. But she knows that you loved her. I know this is the Lover's card. Not in this context. It's just about love. She knows. And again, if this story is about a young woman who is still physically, her body is still here, she wants you to let her go. and I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's not my place. This is, you know, tarot readings and these kind of readings are legal disclaimer. They're for entertainment purposes only. But the energy that I'm picking up on is that message. That's what she's bringing through here. Is if you were questioning, or that's what's happening here, she wants you to make peace with it and let her go. That there's just, she wants to come back, but you know, in other words, she doesn't want to be held in this life. She knows she's going to come back in another body in the future, and hopefully we'll meet you again. That happens, you know. In fact, I have heard by, I was told by a very wise guru, I guess you would say, teacher once, that the fastest round trip ticket back to planet Earth is if you commit suicide. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it could be. So she may be returning here very, very soon, but you have to let her go in this form so that she can, and she's asking you to do that. Okay, folks, I know that was a heavy one today, but hopefully it will reach the family that it needs to get to. And she is sending you so much love, as am I, that you have had to endure this loss with her, and particularly because of the feelings that you were holding about this. But she is, again, she wants to set you free from that. And she said she can only bring the message, but only you can set yourself free, to let go of any guilt or pain or thinking that you could have done anything differently. It was the way that it needed to play out. It was what her soul needed, because we do sign up for these things before we come into these lifetimes. She knew on some level in her 5D reality. And so this was on a very big macro picture level. She knew about this, and her soul signed up for it. And so no need for you to feel any sense of guilt. She just wants to drive that home again. So I wish you all many, many blessings. I hope you will continue to watch my videos. They're not all this heavy, but they need to get out there. If they can help someone, I'm certainly, that's my mission here. So if you like this kind of content, please hit that like button and subscribe. I do try to post weekly, if not 2 or 3 a week, if I have the time and can do that. And also, I do have some spots open for private readings, so y'all can contact me through the email in the description box. Okay, thank you all so very much for being here today. I value your time, and I wish you all many, many blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.